In the previous session, we expanded our model of the creative process to account for subatomic, atomic, molecular, and cosmic formation. We concluded our discussion with the crossing of a threshold. All that we take to be the cosmos fell into the realm of evolution's trailing arrow, and evolution's leading edge locked in a more evolved line of advance. This is Session 7, Design over Structure, in a course titled Evolution of Consciousness, and that is central to a larger view, Evolution of Consciousness Theory. In this session, we align our evolution of consciousness view with present-day science, and explore the development of the complex molecule and simple metabolic system. We end our discussion with the turn in evolution that opens the way for the universe's next major period of advance, life. We call this point of demarcation the threshold of design over structure. At the moment the cosmos reached the height of its evolutionary rise, at the instant the universe exhausted its potential to advance to greater consciousness and fulfillment through cosmic formation, the creative process locked on a fundamentally different evolutionary line. Aspects of consciousness perceived one another as the object of their need, and, by doing so, evolved beyond crystalline structure, and the collective aggregations associated with the ionic compound, to create a new level of molecular organization. Externally, methane and ammonia combined with water, nitrogen, and hydrogen, to create simple sugars, carbohydrates, and amino acids. The creative process gave rise to the first complex carbon-hydrogen-based molecules, to the intricate chains and links scientists call organic. The universe's evolution of consciousness, however, did not stop with the early organic molecule. The more conscious and autonomous structural forms, associated with the organic molecule, opened the way for an even more evolved level of organization, the simple metabolic system. During the late 1950s, scientists discovered that certain organic, and even certain inorganic, molecules interacted to create what were popularly called dissipative structures. Such structures are chemical systems that maintain and enhance structural complexity by importing matter from, and exporting matter to their surroundings. By harnessing energy locked in the structure of matter, the dissipative system regulates the tendency of its more primitive evolutionary components to decline to less complex states. Entropy, or the drive to evolve to less complex forms, builds within the system, but the system dissipates this entropy into its surroundings. The ability of the dissipative system to maintain structural integrity against the tide of evolution's trailing arrow, or to regulate internal creative activity in support of the system's overall creative existence, we call metabolism. The field of study devoted to dissipative structures and simple metabolic behavior is called non-equilibrium thermodynamics. The discipline was pioneered by the Russian-born Belgian physical chemist Ilya Prigogine, who, in 1977, received a Nobel Prize in chemistry for his work. Prigogine noted that as long as a nonlinear system, or dissipative structure, receives matter and energy from an outside source, it will display periods of instability that climax in self-organization and the formation of more complex systems. The dissipative structure displays creative behavior. In a simple metabolic system, atomic and molecular components can be exchanged for other components. One hydrogen atom can be replaced with another hydrogen atom. One sugar molecule can be broken apart, and another synthesized. With metabolism, the universe moved beyond the simple organization of parts to form more complex structural arrangements. Structure superseded components, to become the focus of the universe's evolutionary advance. When we shift our view entirely to the internal, an even more fundamental characteristic of the metabolic system reveals itself. Up to this point in our depiction of evolution, the various internal aspects of consciousness we have encountered, perceived one another as the object of their need to create fulfillment, and, by doing so, created relationships, and thus more complex and conscious aspects. What marked the threshold to metabolism was a new type of aspect perception. Like earlier aspects of consciousness, one metabolic system can perceive another as the object of its need. But the system sustains its existence by the perception of itself as the object of its need. Like a minuscule expression of the universe, the metabolic system embodies the consciousness to grow and evolve, the awareness to fully sustain its own creative process. As Prigogine described, to self-organize. We will trace the line of evolutionary advance, defined by the organic molecule and simple metabolic system, to its inescapable end, in a moment. With the organic molecule and simple metabolic system, all prior evolution, subatomic, atomic, simple molecular, and cosmic formation, fell into the realm of evolution's trailing arrow. Physical science is devoted to the study of the external manifestation, associated with this restructuring of consciousness. We have reached the point where we can reconcile our evolution of consciousness account of creation with the views of present-day science. When activity on the cosmic and earlier levels realigned, in support of evolution's leading edge, matter and energy behaved in consistent ways. This stability is revealed by the physical laws, and by the constants in the physical laws. Energy is conserved. Momentum is conserved. The speed of light in a vacuum is taken to be constant and a maximum. From the standpoint of an observer, in the same inertial system, time, as measured by a clock, or by radioactive decay, passes at a constant rate. The second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, states that a physical system will tend to slide spontaneously and irreversibly toward a state of disorder. Activity on the universe's trailing arrow creates the predictable universe physicists and chemists so admire. Whether the yielding equations of chemistry, the probability theorems of quantum mechanics, or Einstein's special and general relativity, science maps physical behavior, and explains that behavior, in terms of physical interaction. Take the Big Bang model of cosmic formation. Proposed in the first half of the 20th century, by the Belgian priest, Georges Lumet, the Big Bang model tells us that the universe began as an infinitely hot and dense point, that violently exploded. Space expanded and cooled, and the weak, strong, electromagnetic, and gravitational forces came into existence. These forces caused the energy associated with the Big Bang to coalesce into more complex arrangements of matter, and, by doing so, to give rise to quarks, nuclei, atoms, molecules, stars, galaxies, and so forth. If we were to ignore the cycles and thresholds, and the trial and error, of the creative process, and plot only the external forms they produced, and then, if we went on to categorize the patterns of attraction and repulsion between these forms, would, at least in certain respects, cosmic emergence, look like a Big Bang. Science can predict the trailing arrow behavior of matter with great accuracy, but it cannot say what matter is, or why it came into being. Science can tell us the way things are, but not necessarily why they are that way. Science has yet to decipher the meaning of existence. In such lies the greatest value of the evolution of consciousness view. Evolution of consciousness theory does not supplant existing physical theory, such does a remarkable job of mapping trailing arrow physical behavior. Evolution of consciousness theory enwraps physical theory in an overall explanatory construct, and, as such, offers a fundamentally new level of explanation. When we embrace consciousness as a variable, the scheme of evolution unfolds in a way we cannot stop. The pieces of the puzzle that is creation fall into place, as if they have been before humanity's eyes, all along. The first metabolic system was followed by the development of more complex metabolic systems. This evolution took place in two ways. Metabolic systems self-organized. They advanced through the cycles and thresholds of their own local creative process. Metabolic systems also advanced through the perception of one another as object to create relationships or systems of metabolic reactions. In both cases, the autonomy and consciousness associated with the metabolic system increased, and structure of perception became more complex and disassociated from components. The Earth's early oceans were surely a soup of organic molecules and simple metabolic activity. Then, about 4 billion years ago, the universe exhausted its potential to create fulfillment through the evolution of the simple metabolic system. Uncertainty overwhelmed and collapsed. The refinement of the metabolic system made possible the leap that would propel the universe beyond its age of structure and into its next major era of advance, life. Externally, metabolic systems perceived one another as object to create a new class of metabolic systems. The first single-celled life forms emerged, entities capable of reproduction. Like the engineer who designs a car built on a distant assembly line, the universe rose above the level of structural formation and set forth in its next direction. By way of cellular reproduction, the creative process relegated structure and its formation to the local level, to the level of the cell. The universe not only embraced structure as separate from and above components, but marked the divide between the consciousness that we associate with pre-life and the consciousness that we associate with life. The universe crossed the threshold of design as separate from and above structure, design over structure. What created the infinitely hot and dense point that cosmologists postulate as the universe's state of origin? To address the universe's origin, must not we shift our view to the internal? By virtue of its dynamic nature, must not a simple metabolic system embody a cyclic rebirth of the system? With our look at the early organic molecule and simple metabolic system, we complete session 7, in our course titled Evolution of Consciousness. We have established the background to set forth into the universe's evolutionary era of life. Our course titled Evolution of Consciousness continues in session 8, The Cell.